everybody, it's your boy Davis over on the CFG, and I'd like to welcome you to a brand new show that I've been working with for a long time. I'm so excited to try this out and see how this is going to go. I like to call this the Whaddya Think Spoiler Cast. Now, what is Whaddya Think Spoiler Cast? But that's a good question. The answer is it's a spoiler cast of anything that is fully geeky. It could be anime, comics, video games, and so much more. Anything in the pop culture community. We want to just do a roundtable. We want to review it with all different sides of with people in the roundtable discussion, and we will give our overall experience of whatever we do to you on the community itself, on the CFG or on confreaksandgeeks.com. So we are doing our first inaugural show today with two awesome people that I've known for a little bit. So we are going to be talking about one of the most popular games that the beginning of 2024 and probably really of all time when it comes to RPGs. So this is going to be a inaugural spoiler cast of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So, guys, if you love this, if you like this, if you want to support this in any way, do us a favor, give us a like, follow, or subscribe to the CFG channel, or go to our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com, for the whole package. Well, let's get this started. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I am really been wanting to talk about this. I think everyone here has been wanting to talk about this for a long time. So we'll get this started here immediately. So I'm talking to Asha, aka Always Lolzing on Twitch. You should also check her out. She loves playing a lot of Final Fantasies and plays a lot of Final Fantasy 14, but amongst other different kinds of other RPGs and other kinds of games. So definitely check her out. And then I have Zuzu, aka Zukara the Tall, who is also on Twitch, is a big Destiny 2 player, loves Final Fantasy, loves One Piece. What? Really? Did you stop?
Oh yeah, no. We'll talk about Destiny another time, but no, we're not in a good place. That's a conversation for another time.
Oh my God. Okay, well, never mind. So he's totally forbidding Destiny. That's a day.
No, I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth. I said we're not in a good place.
Oh, okay.
The relationship's end is near. Let's just say that.
Oh, you know what? To be honest with you, I don't blame you. But
I was going to say I've heard that from a few Destiny diehards of mine too.
Really? I'll see. That's not good. But anyway, but that's cool. But welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. I really appreciate y'all to do this. I think we're gonna have a really good discussion of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So before we go, I think the best way is to describe what is Final Fantasy VII, the game itself. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the remake of the original is the second part of the original Final Fantasy VII that came out back in 1997. It is one of the timeless classic RPGs that basically introduced a lot of people in the RPG genre for its time, and it's been at this time it's definitely acclaimed to be one of the best of all time. Now, who you ask? You already know where I stand. but guys, so they decided back in 2021, the first part of Final Fantasy VII came out as Final Fantasy VII Remake. Did wondrous numbers, really fun. So now it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth 3 years later after Remake. This is the continuance of the story of the Seven universe, and so it came out in February 2024, the end of February 2024, and during that time it was just a fun-filled adventure of a new kind of battle system mixed with really current graphics. Everything that went up to date it was inputted in this game. So I just wanted to go around table, just kind of wanted to get your overall feel when you played it, what you played and what y'all thought of it. Let's start with you, Asha.
I was very excited. I'm not even sure how I can put into words how excited I was for Rebirth, especially after playing the remake, which is part one. The battle mechanics alone, I think, are great. Just the added stuff, the side quests, the Queen's Blood.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of thought put into Rebirth, and I feel like I can say that with Remake as well, is that there was a lot of thought and care into it. I do have some criticisms of the game, but it's more story based than anything else. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know if you want to dive into that topic just yet. So
no, I'm just wanting to get your overall first experience thoughts of it. So we'll trickle in. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just walking into Calm. I'm pretty. There was a few times that I cried, and that was one of them. Where it's just like you just see this beloved game that you played, when you were a kid. And it's just come to life in such a new way. And you're just like, I don't even know how to explain it other than it was just so impactful for me. And I think for a lot of Final Fantasy fans out there, especially when you played a lot of the OGs, just incredible, in my opinion. Incredible.
Okay. What about you, Zuzu? What did you think when you first played it?
No, understand this comes from huge bias because Final Fantasy VII was my first video game. So
ever? Like first video game?
Yes. First video. It was that and StarCraft. I played those two games. It was first Final Fantasy VII, played through the intro, and then tried a little StarCraft after that. Like someone gave me a couple of burned copies on a PC. So heavy bias coming into this. It was perfect. Even when I was hating it. Even when the mini games drove me to want to throw my controller at a wall, I was all in. Mm-hmm. There's definitely criticisms. But battle systems improved massively from Remake to Rebirth. Way more stuff that you can do. I felt overpowered throughout the whole thing. I had it on dynamic on my first playthrough. And I just felt like I was just blowing through everything. It just felt overtuned as heck. And I loved it, though. It's my game of the year. I don't see anything topping it.
Oh, wow, man. We're in April. You're already hitting game of the year already on this day.
Right.
Hell yeah, I did. To quote a Ted Lasso character, Zava, everything else looks like mud to me now. Everything else is a blur.
Yeah.
Just an ugly blob. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to play another video game right now. And I want to just go upstairs and play some more Rebirth, but I only have one PS5 and my wife's playing through it right now for herself. So I'm hands off until she's done.
Fair enough. Hey, that's pretty good self-control. I will admit. I'll give you that. Okay. So like, I know most people who know me personally, they already know I was kind of had a thing with Final Fantasy VII. Wasn't a big fan of the original OG 7, but I know, but there was good things about it and there was bad things. But with 7, I will say, like, I think I have a good unconventional way of like kind of going into this, because 7 Rebirth, I was really wanting this. I was a little bit hyped because they did such a good job from the transition from Remake to to what the next level was going to be in its story. So there was a little bit of hype for me to be wanting to pick this up, and I did. I sat down and I did everything. Like I literally sat down and did like the mini games, the stories, the side stories, the different kinds, the affection levels, all this different kinds of stuff. I did everything in this game, and yeah, there, of course, there's always going to be the positives and there's going to be the negatives of it, which we will definitely dive into here very shortly. So, but the game itself overall, I think was a way, in presentation alone, in my personal opinion, was better than 16 when it came to that. Story wise, we can get into that's a different story. But like everything that you could do in that game was very meaty. It was a lot of different kinds of content that you could do that allowed you to do a lot of different kinds of sorts of things, and you didn't have to do it, but if you want it, but you can. It was very complete when you decided to sit down and just say, okay, screw the MSQ or the main story quest or whatever, and just traverse around the world and just walk around, fight whatever you're wanting to fight, and just see and just experience just the whole the whole ether of the game itself. So so I mean, I did enjoy my playthrough of it, the playthrough of it. So but some of the things like you were saying, I guess we can start with some of the bad things that kind of getting into it. For me, there was a couple of things that kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. I think the biggest thing that kind of rubbed me besides the story, because like story from the beginning, like you were saying, the introduction to Calm was a great, like the way they introduced you and just thrusted you into Calm at the very beginning of the game was a great decision, because I remember when you had to do it in the original OG, you had to find the city on the overworld map, and then once you're in the city, it was really nice and it was just gloomy as it is, as well as it needed to be, and then the cutscene happened, and then it was just with no voiceover and stuff. So, well, and also side note, thank you God to have voiceovers, because voiceovers make the game just illuminates the game even better, and they did it for everything, which was even more appreciative. So they did a great job on introducing you to the beginning of the game. But I think the thing that kind of irritated me a little bit with it was the massive amount of mini games in this game. Was just like, why did you throw in like I mean, I understand like you're wanting to kind of do a little bit of different things, and it's fine to kind of do like, the march thing that you did, the marching mini game and stuff, but come on, dude, like there was so many weird little mini games that they were like, oh, you need to do this or do this so you can earn this thing to allow you to get this credit for you to get this piece of this item and stuff. I'm like, come on, guy, just give me the damn item. I mean, I don't want to go through all this through that mess. And it would have been fine if it was sprinkled, but dude, it was like left and right. It was everywhere in this game. There was a massive amount of mini games that just kind of was like, okay, guy, I get it. I get it. You're wanting us to enjoy it, but y'all did quite a bit of an overabundance of these things. So I don't know if it's just me. That's one of the things, but I want to go around the table and see what else. If y'all agree, disagree, or if, you could add into what y'all's little pet peeves were a little bit.
I thought the original had a lot of mini games too, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like I distinctly remember
Gold
a
Saucer.
crap ton of mini games in the original.
I remember stuff. Okay, I remember the big things like the arcades and stuff like the. Well, I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I remember like the small stuff like was Gold Saucer had a lot of mini games. I do remember like the slapping contest that you had between Tifa and the
Scarlet.
Yeah, Scarlet, yeah, and stuff.
R3.
Yeah, I know. I remember the squatting competition. The squatting competition was also in the original one too, and stuff. But like, but like for instance, the squatting thing was one. There was one squatting thing. Now there is in this one, besides the fact that they had remake, you did the squatting thing, and then now you had the second part of that, and then there was different tiers of it that you had to go do. You had to go do to get everything that you to get maximum affection for your for I believe it was Tifa's quest. To get maximum affection on Tifa's quest, you had to beat all of them. You had to go through all that whole process and stuff. And I'm just like, why are you making us go through all these different kinds of hurdles just to go through, just to do it, So,
so I have thoughts on that. It might be a different perspective, but I don't know if anyone, and it depends on, I guess, who's listening and who's played it, but the amount of work that you had to do, for example, to get a date with Yuffie in the OG was just as tedious as how you're feeling the mini games are. So instead of I think they have eliminated how do I say this? So instead of starting a new playthrough and doing everything correctly just to get Yuffie, which is an optional character, then to go on a date with Yuffie. So instead of starting a whole new playthrough, they have now kind of streamlined it into mini games instead. So instead of like having to look up exactly what you have to do when you start the game to get a date with Yuffie, to get different cutscenes, instead they've put it behind mini games so that you can start the story just normally without having to know those challenges, and then be able to pick and choose your challenges along the way. And so that you can see like who you get a date with. If Aerith and Tifa are not your first picks, which is normally what it is, because those characters are not optional. That's how I saw it, because I didn't feel like I had to. Yeah, like I love the mini games, but there are some of them that I'm like, I'm just not good at. Like I have a smooth brain. I cannot, sometimes I just can't figure out the games, or I'm just not like reactive enough. So yeah, I did attempt to do all the games in the Gold Saucer, but I didn't feel like I needed to unless I wanted a different outcome or a different date. And like instead of that, like you had those optional mini games to improve certain relationships with certain people, instead of having that like secret door like how it used to be when we were kids, where like we had to know our stuff when we started a game, because there was no internet. Or there wasn't like there wasn't readily available videos for us to figure that out. So having those starting from the game and starting from the beginning was easier in that time. But now we have information readily at our fingertips that they just decided to stick a bunch of mini games. I understand though what you're saying. Like I can understand the repetitiveness of it.
Well, what about I never did, or I never got Yuffie from the original one. What did you have to do to get Yuffie on the date for the OG 7?
You literally had to shun both Tifa and Aerith from jump. Like before you even get Yuffie at all, or Yuffie is like an idea, you had to the decisions you had to make and the chain reaction you had to make with Aerith and Tifa determined how you get Yuffie. I mean, like it's like I don't remember how many. I think it's like 30 to 50 steps on how to get Yuffie.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is no joke on how to get a date with Yuffie in the OG. And at that time, it was even harder because it was split up into 3 discs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, dude. Like there was parts like, for instance, the Red 13 soccer thing. I was just like, come on, guys. I
liked that. I thought it was fun.
Really?
I
like that one.
You didn't like it? Okay.
I got frustrated.
Yeah, then you got the pirate ship points and stuff. It's like you just did the pirate ship points so you can get yourself a medallion or whatever the currency was, so you can get yourself an outfit for the beach. And I'm just like, oh my God, dude, seriously. Like, just
then they give you a version where accuracy matters, and then you're like, why?
I know,
well, and
right?
then it's like depending on what outfit you choose, strengthens your relationship with Tifa or Aerith kind of thing again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I get that.
You know what's funny? My first playthrough, my relationship was Barrett. I don't even know how I messed that up. I didn't even want it. I didn't want Barrett. I'm like, damn it, I got Barrett. Yeah, but
I mean, but that's the beauty of it. Yeah, that's the beauty of it, is that like, yeah, right now you don't know how you got Barrett, but if you didn't want Barrett, there was those mini games to kind of cushion that with Tifa or Aerith. So that's how I saw the mini games. That's how I felt almost immediately. I was like, oh, okay. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I was paranoid on decisions that I was making because I didn't know how it would impact the relationship with other people. And at that point, we had heard rumors that there were two characters that you couldn't strengthen relationships with, really. And we were trying to figure out, like, until obviously, you know, the game came out, but like, we didn't know what relationships or what. So I was paranoid, like, on what decisions I was making and how I was going about it, because I didn't know for sure. And I also didn't know the stopping point, because I'm the type of person that like likes to complete a whole area before moving on to the next area.
Yeah, me too.
And so it just threw me through a loop, like on certain areas that I had to move on and then revisit and come back to. But then I started noticing that it was like that with Queen's Blood and some other stuff too.
Yeah. So definitely. What about you? Like, was there any kind of well, we'll go with Zuzu this time. Zuzu, was there anything that you like that you would criticize that was that they could have done better, or that you weren't a big fan of in this one?
How salty can my language get?
PG-13.
It's YouTube, so
yeah, fair. Fort Condor is ass.
Well, Fort Condor. Yeah, Fort Condor has always been a 50-50 kind of thing. Some people loved it, some people hate it. I hated it.
It's like Blitzball.
Don't talk about Blitzball. Don't be bad.
No, but I was just saying, like, I hate Blitzball, but there are a lot of people that are like, I love Blitzball, and like people are demanding it out of Final Fantasy 14. So like that's how I equivalent it.
14, no, 14 would be terrible on Blitzball. Because but I'm sorry, but 14 would be terrible on Blitz, because Blitzball was turn based essentially. Because you remember when you got the ball, then you had options. You like they stopped the game, and you had options to either kick or do special moves and stuff. You can't do that in 14. Like 14 is just on the move, man. So no. But I'm sorry, we digress. But what were you saying, Zuzu?
Fort Condor. So and this is a mistake on my end. I did not play the Yuffie DLC in Remake. My understanding is there is a Fort Condor in that's actually better than the one in Rebirth. And I heard it was like a downgrade. From what my buddy was telling me,
it was essentially the same. It was just like, it was. I mean, if you were planning on playing this, but Fort Condor in the Yuffie DLC was basically, it was just like Fort Condor. The only difference was that all that stuff was local. It was all there, like to level it up and everything, like to do the 1 through 4 to do everything. It was all in one specific area, and you could do it like, so you didn't have to search for a lot of different kinds of things. So you can get the full card set fairly easier. So because of it, maybe in that way, it was better because you didn't have to do a lot to get there. It
was structured like Queen's Blood. Like you're well, no, I mean in a sense of like in the Yuffie DLC, the people that you play against are centralized in one area, and like they would go by levels, and like every level or every opponent that you beat, you have the opportunity to get more figures for your board. And then you had different boards. You could predetermine, set them up depending on how offensive or defensive. Like it was the same structure in a sense as Queen Blood, where you had those separates. Yeah, you had the separate boards, you had the separate figures. You could preset things how you wanted to, and it was very centralized. But the way it plays was the same.
Yeah, it was the exact same thing. Yeah, they really didn't do anything different than the DLC. But the good news is that you only have to beat, I think, only like 6 or 7 people. Then you finished it. You finished that side story.
Are you talking about the Yuffie DLC?
Yeah, Yuffie's DLC. Yeah, so like what you did the 6 or 7.
4 in Rebirth was too much. Or I guess 8 because it was hard mode as well.
I didn't do the hard mode, but
I did all of it.
Yeah, I mean, at least in this one, it gave you something. It rewarded you for your troubles, as opposed to what it did in the other ones. It's like, hey, congratulations, you got a participation badge. No, not this time. Yeah, so this one actually gave you a relatively something useful for it, which was, I believe, it was Gilgamesh, wasn't it? The summon for that, if I remember correctly. No, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm thinking. But
I was like,
Yeah, it was. Well, it made a what was it that they gave you? I'm trying to remember. There's just so many of it. Like once
the
you finish
rewards
full list.
for Condor in Rebirth or Yuffie DLC?
In Rebirth. Like if you did the whole quest line, you got something big. I remember that.
Well, I mean, it was technically part of the Gilgamesh thing because you had to do all the relic stuff. But
yeah,
I'm trying to remember what it did.
I'm looking it up. But anyways, was there anything else that you other than Fort Condor?
I mean, yeah, the pirate minigame I didn't like. My reasoning for completing them was a little different though. When I was initially going through it, I was going in fairly blind. I hadn't been following a lot of the press or anything. I knew I was going to play it. I was going to play it day one. Took time off. Took a week off of work.
Oh wow!
So I went in fairly blind, not knowing that the mini games could influence different dates in this one. I just went for it for the rewards.
Yeah,
that was my primary motivator. I was like, nope, got to get rank 3, got to get that weapon for like Yuffie on the glide to Chocobo, or or the stupid game. With
completing hard mode for Fort Condor actually goes towards Johnny's treasure trove.
Yes, that's what it is.
I gotta help Johnny, man.
Yeah,
I know.
And you also get sheet music too, specifically for it too. So if you're trying to complete all the music, see, there you go.
I actually, so funny thing about the music, I started off hating it. I really hated it initially. And then I jacked up the speed to like 2 or 3, and it became so much easier to the point I was like, I actually kind of like this now.
I liked it, but I was humiliated when I was playing it on stream because I would just be like, and it was so bad. Bad.
I hope someone clipped those because I would love to see that.
No, they did, because I was like, I dreaded it, but like I loved it at the same time. Like I wanted to be better at it, but I couldn't. I could do it just fine off stream. If I was playing by myself, yeah, I was doing okay.
Effect.
Yeah, but like I could also redo it to the point where I wasn't embarrassed that I spent an hour trying to do the song. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna sit on stream for an hour and try to just try to play Barrett's theme song and just do terrible at it. So of course, like off stream is great, but on stream, every other word literally was just, censored. And like it would be F-bombs everywhere. And then you would hear the note, like I would press the wrong note at the same time. So it was like I was off keyed in so many ways. It was terrible.
That is amazingly funny. I love that.
Did you keep it on the same speed the whole time?
No, I tried doing faster speeds on stream, and it was oh man. I felt like me being 5 foot, I was trying to keep up with my tall friends, but in the game, I was just no.
So no. Non-starter, gotcha.
Yeah, no, not on stream. Off stream though, I see what you're saying, because it was a lot easier because I was hitting those notes too early, because it was that like, I don't know if it was the same for you, but like when it is going towards the outside, now you flashbanging yourself.
I know, right? It just randomly does this.
And it was like, it's like doing that wave towards when you're supposed to hit the note. I would hit it too early because I could see it getting ready to be queued. So speeding it up was helpful. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. What about you, Asha? What was a like a thing that you would say a criticism of 7 in your eyes? You know what I'm saying? Hey, you can drop, actually, if you have a couple, definitely you'll have to choose one.
I do have a couple, but
criticisms.
Yeah,
we're gonna put the story criticism in itself. We're already.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's fair, but I don't hate the chocobo flying, but I don't love it either. In Cosmo Canyon, I wasn't a huge fan. I feel like I can't criticize too much because like I'm not saying that I'm not like I'm not saying that I can't learn how to make a game or anything like that. And I'm not saying it's easy, but like when I criticize there, I feel like there should be at least some type of feedback or like, oh, this is like an alternative, but like I don't see an alternative for the Chocobo floating in Cosmo Canyon. I don't. There was aspects of it which I appreciate and then I did like, but almost like the mini game of the little side quest with the daughter that the mom owns the Chocobo Ranch and stuff, and like you want to complete that side quest, but the floating, the inverted controls, like it just
was a nightmare. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that, and like it's the same thing with Gungaga and the mushrooms and the pathways. Yeah. I was like, yo, this should not. I understand instead of making a flat expanse and just having really no stimulation when it comes to exploring the world. Like I completely understand why they did what they did with every area, where it wasn't just some repetitive flat land that you just go around. Like there was challenges and fun stuff to do. But wow, Gungaga was so confusing, and I had a lot of struggle because I felt like I was just for an hour or two, I was just running around trying to figure out what pathway with mushrooms do I need to take to get to like a certain area or a certain objective. And it was really irritating. I was really irritated.
When they do puzzles like that, I've always had issues with puzzles. Gungaga wasn't much of a problem to me, but I would say, but those kind of puzzles where everything looks the same or everything like you have to lead to point A to point B and then you go to point B, then you go, but it starts you somewhere else in the same map and stuff. I've always was never really a big fan of that because you just get frustrated. You're just like,
which is exactly where I was at. And like, I did appreciate like there were some, not enough, but there were some instances where you like took a path with the mushrooms, got to a plateau, and then there was a branch that was like wrapping around to whatever you were trying to get to. I think if they used more of that instead of just mushrooms all over the place, and then like there was like 3 branches, I think, and that was it. And like having that broken up was a lot better for me than having just a bunch of mushrooms all the time. Like, I feel like it was broken up more because the mushrooms got repetitive too. Because like at one point, there's some mushrooms that are like really high up and you're like, oh, this will take me across the map. But instead, you just jump really high and land on the ground. And you're like, no.
You have like all of like 5 to 10 feet.
Yeah, like you took 5 mushrooms to get to this really tall plateau. And then you're like, oh, this mushroom is just gonna launch me across the map, which is exactly where I need to go. So you take the mushroom and then you're right back down on the floor and you're like, son of a like that kind of thing.
No, I totally understand. That makes sense. I just thought about another one that kind of got to me was, maybe it's just me, but I really hated Chadley. I really like, don't get me wrong. Chadley is an important piece of like the stuff that gave you access to certain things and to certain pieces. Like, so the pieces, like, the material that you had to pick up, the skills and stuff, perfectly fine. But him and his whimsical humor, his the monotone look of it, I just do not like that kid. And him and his virtual assistant just made it worse.
His needless hate for Mai.
It's
like grated on me.
Like, you so created her. It's like, come on. It's like you
want, this is your OC. Why do you hate her so much?
Yeah, I can understand that. I feel like Chadley grated on my nerves a little bit, but I think it was more of like me just talking a bunch of mess just because I could, because it was Chadley. Like, it's almost like he was put in the game for you to be like, you know what? F you, Chadley. Right? Like, like just because, like, I think that he's there for, I mean, he has a purpose, of course, and like his dialogue sometimes, him and Mai's dialogue really kind of grated on me a little bit, because like I do feel like there were some personalities, and this includes even the main characters, that were almost emphasized too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't need to be over the top kind of thing. It's
But he had like a dry humor that didn't really seem like it connected to me.
well, he's created.
Yeah, but
he's lab created, so I can understand. Like, you have two sides of like of a coin. You have Mai, who is clearly understanding and gaining a personality that is not normal with someone who's lab created. And you also have Chadley, who is also becoming his own personality without realizing that he's becoming his person, like creating his own personality and becoming like almost more human because his hatred towards Mai. At least that's how I took it, was that as much as they grated on me, I could tell that there was a purpose to showing the personalities, because they shouldn't have personalities technically.
Yeah, that's true.
Is how I took it.
My feeling with Chadley though, it's weird because they like because you're basically doing changing the world to Chadley completely. I feel like he's going to be like a boss of some sort in the third one because of all the stuff that because like you remember when you're really seriously thinking about it, like he's wanting you to become more powerful by amplifying, you know, the signals and then doing all the different kinds of instructions and discoveries, because he was originally in the first one was about R&D development of, like, you know, virtual machines and scenarios and stuff like that. I will not be surprised that in the last part of this of Final Fantasy we might have to fight him in some sort of weird way.
I have a theory on that, but yeah. What?
His storyline. So like Hojo's clearly doing something. Setting something up. So I'm wondering if that maybe with the Hojo fight that we get in part 3, if we're going to get some sort of form of Chadley during that fight.
That or Jenova.
Well, we know Jenova. We fought Jenova
for sure.
We already fought Jenova this time around.
But yeah, no. We did. But I feel like, because it shows that obviously Jenova is manipulating in more ways than one, especially compared to the OG. Obviously there's more emphasis, right? Like in this one, that Jenova is manipulating more than just Cloud and Sephiroth in a sense. I do have a theory that Chadley is a part of that, or that Jenova is controlling Hojo, who is controlling Chadley, or like there's like some chain of events, because I feel like they've emphasized Jenova a lot more in this one, and it makes me kind of side eye a few things, because they're really putting emphasis on the control Jenova has.
That is very true. There you go. So so maybe Chadley's going to be a better part. Who knows what's going to happen here in the next?
There's a possibility, yeah.
So, but I guess but like I said, I think now. I just wanted to put this part of it, but let's talk about the story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And this is going to be a very interesting one for me, because this is actually I don't know if it's a hot take for me per se on this, but I will say this: how, like, from point A to the beginning of Rebirth to the end of it, I was enjoying my time, you know, kind of getting to what it was. Like, they were actually, the way at the beginning of the story of Rebirth, they were doing a good job guiding you to what their point, what the point was. Like, because like basically the core story was you were following the Black Robe people to try to and use them as like a trace marker to find Sephiroth, and then you trying to fight Sephiroth at the end to stop whatever he's trying to do. That is a great, simple thing to kind of follow and lead the way to it. But then at the end of the story of this game went out of this world crazy, in my opinion. Like, I was like, dude, like the best way I'd like to describe it, because like I told it to Asha the other day, was they basically Kingdom Hearted this story. And I do not like the way that and now when they purposely made that ending, like the ending of Rebirth, made it not necessarily confusing, but more like why. because they decided to say, okay, so the OG version is one universe. You got the current universe as the current universe of the characters that you're working on this one. Then you have another universe with Zack, Cloud, and Aerith all together in one. But then the ultimate core goal was that Sephiroth is trying to unify all three of those worlds, like to consolidate it and to make and for him to be the main domain of everything with that. And I'm just like, what the hell is that? That is not what the OG story was supposed to was supposed to be. Y'all decided to make a story that was like that no one really kind of wanted, or let alone ask for, to kind of change or shift. Because like I think the better way I was expecting this series was going to be was to have a better representation of what the OG story was going to be. And I was just like, really, are y'all really going to make this weird and confusing just because you can? Because that really kind of put a giant sour note to me comparatively to what I was expecting. Because Remake did a really good job of setting up the lines and then adding new things, mind you, like the black robe spirits and stuff and everything. And I was like, okay, this is perfectly fine. I'm accepting on this. But now the way that they're branching off into doing this kind of world of different universes within the same world is just crazy. I just wanted to get y'all's take on that. What did y'all think?
I have one question. Did you not see this coming at the end of Remake? I felt like this was like very clearly marked, like we're getting separate worlds and universes when they revealed Zack show up at the end of Remake. I was like, okay, so we're branching shit off now? Okay,
well, when I first saw this Remake, I thought that they were doing it out of when I saw the ending initially, when I first beat it, I thought they were just doing it in a weird chronological, like a different kind of level of order, because the way that they introduced Zack was like it looked like he was coming into it after all that stuff that happened with Cloud and stuff. I didn't even think that this was that it was a different universe until the beginning of Rebirth, when you saw Zack hiding behind the thing, until when they saw the bodies of Red 13, Tifa and stuff, when they were transporting them inside the helicopters and stuff. And I'm like, oh, so this is what they were going to do? Oh, okay, that's odd, but okay, let's see where this is going to go. But so no, I was not expecting it to be a completely different worlds initially, until I actually played Rebirth. Because because I thought Zack somehow survived, just like how Jesse. Because remember at the end of Remake, not Jesse, but Biggs survived. Like how they made it look like Biggs survived the plate collapse. And I was just like, oh, okay, so they're doing different kinds of things. So I was like, so I was just rolling with the punches. I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna be very interesting to see where they're gonna go with this. So yeah, but to answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I feel like from what I remember, the end of Remake, it's his death scene from Crisis Core, but it's changed.
I never played Crisis Core.
Well, so Zack's whole death is very.
God, that was traumatic.
It was, but it's sort of necessary for where Cloud ends up at the beginning of Remake.
Yeah, but
so to show him alive, it's like, okay, well then, how are they gonna it doesn't fit for the universe, so it had to have been something separate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Well, probably because I never saw it, but I just assumed because I remember in 7 they showed Zack getting gunned down like a RoboCop, the other deal. But I'm just saying that am I not wrong? That's exactly what happened. And
you're not wrong.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, okay, cool. So I just didn't know what their reason was going to be on this one, the Mako, because I always like to make fun of Cloud. I always call him a Mako junkie because he essentially is. But still, but I just didn't know what to get it when I was getting into Rebirth. I didn't know what to expect, if they were going to change that up too. as well. So I didn't think of it as separate worlds until maybe too late. Maybe it was just because I was too naive. I don't know. But did you like? But okay, so if since you knew that it was coming, did you like the implementation of it?
It's kind of contingent on how they land it in the end for me right now, because it's still, there's a lot of questions about it that are left unanswered. It's like currently I'm okay with it. I'm not in love with it. I'm okay with it. It's the main story beats are still lining up for it to follow the skeletal structure of the OG, with this added twist of multiple universes. But the multiverse storyline is a little overplayed in media in general right now. So I don't think they're going to do anything new with it. It's just.
But you don't sound satisfied, like truly satisfied of the I mean, you're just like, okay, I'll see what's good. It seems like your mentality is, I want to see how this is going to land. I'll see how the third one's going to close all this up and see how it is. But it didn't seem like you were kind of fulfilled on how they showed what they showed you on the second one. It was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, that's just,
I like that you brought up
observation.
Biggs and because that's a major issue with me. If we're going to let Biggs live in remake, why do you have to give him such a shit death in Rebirth? And same with Wedge.
Yes.
Like, that bugged me. It just kind of felt like, well, that was fucking pointless. It's just, I'm so sorry.
You thought that Biggs was going to be a bigger part, especially when they're like, oh, he survived the first one. Great.
Biggs and
like,
Wedge stuff really bugged me. Sorry. I didn't mean to like.
No, it's all good, dude. It's a spoiler.
Some language in there.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Just bleep me out, please. No, that portion really frustrated me, and for it just kind of felt like, okay, well, like we had to keep Biggs alive so that we could bring Zach in to motivate Zach to do the right thing, and that just doesn't taste good in my meal. It's a very bitter taste. And then it's, I mean, he didn't get off screen, but almost felt like they off screened Wedge as well. Like, oh yeah, he got thrown out of building by some whispers back in remake. Yeah, you didn't know till now. There you go.
I thought Wedge
flashback on it.
Didn't Wedge die in remake though?
I must have missed that scene because
He did.
I thought he was alive.
No, the only person that survived was Biggs. Well, wait, did Jesse die too? So it was just Biggs. Biggs was the only survivor besides Barrett and the rest of the core team of Avalanche.
They talk about Wedge when you're in Cosmo Canyon doing the proto relic stuff.
Yeah,
with the little
and like it shows that he
the
was
life
at the
spring
assault on Shinra when you were there in the end of remake. And then they threw him out a window.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, okay. But Asha, what about you? What do you think? Like, I want to get your take on the story to you. I know your face and your smirk already says it all. But let's go with
it. So my therapist heard about it.
Oh, that is hilarious.
That's a glowing recommendation.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. For to take people through the thought process that I had, because at the end of remake, I was upset. And I think CF and I have mentioned it before, like we've talked about it before. But at the end of remake, it was after my second brain surgery that I played remake. Remake dropped not even a week after I got out of my second brain surgery. So I was at home recovering and playing Final Fantasy remake. And I remember finishing remake, and that end fight, it was a very WTF. What is this? I was upset because and I know this is a lot of people are gonna have something to say about this, but I hate Kingdom Hearts. I hate Kingdom Hearts.
I do too.
Yeah,
I've
never
played them. I haven't cared enough to.
which is fair. I think that in opinion wise, I love one for nostalgic purposes and the PlayStation 2 era and how fantastic it was, at least in my childhood. But after that, I feel like Square Enix, as much as I love Square Enix and Disney both got greedy and things got too messy, too fast. You try to put a game on every platform that was available back in that time. The plot line got so messed up that it takes 7 years to explain it to somebody who's never played Kingdom Hearts. I pre-ordered 3, hoping that it was going to bring back that nostalgia, and instead it made me swear off pre-ordering.
Wow.
So
game.
Yeah, we all have that game, and Kingdom Hearts 3 and Anthem are both the which is not what we're talking about right now. But
I like how you got squeezed in the shade with in between your hatred for Kingdom Hearts.
I'll never forgive for that. But
on the dish list.
Yeah. So playing the ending of Rebirth, it was very much a what is this? And I won't lie, and I'm not trying to put any disrespect on any developer, producer, director, etc. But when I found out Nomura was in charge of this remake, I was not pleased in the slightest, because Nomura is in charge of Kingdom Hearts. And I felt like at the end of remake, it kind of like confirmed my suspicions. And I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going, and I'm not pleased about it, but I'm going to play it anyways. And I think the end of remake was a very huge, like, hey, I'm also the director of Kingdom Hearts kind of thing. So Rebirth was that same disappointment for me. I don't like, I would agree, the multiverse plot line is so played out in so many ways, and I feel like it's a cop out. I feel like doing a multiverse and changing people's deaths and changing the plot line of a story is a cop out. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's a very
No, but I totally think. I don't think it's harsh at all, because theoretically, though, because I don't know if it was. I think it was you that said this though too. But did you see you had like a friend that said that if someone decides to go multiverse, it's just like an excuse for them to not have good writing of some sort, or
one. There's two comments that have been made to me when it comes to when I talked about Final Fantasy. One was my best friend Sean. And actually Boss too. Both of my best friends were like, oh, because they think that the multiverse plot line is just an excuse for lazy writing, is what was said. And then another community member of mine called it the Nomura, is what it was. What was titled as?
Oh no, you verbed his name. That's not good.
Yeah, and it says so Nomura writing plot line. Okay, back to Nomura real quick. It's actually not Nomura, it's Raxmon, and later it's revealed that Raxmon is actually Yoshi P. So it's like so it's things like that where it was like, I'm gonna leave a loose end, and then if I don't come back to it, we'll just brush it off as a multiverse thing. And if we do go back to it, there's still a chance we can also go back to it again and change it.
But here's the sad part about all that, because what's weird is that they had the effort. It felt like in the story wise in this game that they pushed themselves to get in that situation. Like they didn't like the game. It didn't even seem like they had to do. They didn't have to do that. They didn't.
They didn't. The story of 7.
Skip Zack option for Rebirth, right?
Yeah, like
wow.
There in 7 in the original, there are a lot of, and in Crisis Core with Zack, there are a lot of plot holes in a sense. Like nothing is perfect, but like one thing that I loved that CF, you should play Crisis Core, but one thing that I loved was that we got an answer on I forgot her name already. Crap.
Aerith or
no, redhead from Crisis Core.
No, wait,
no, she was a Turk. Cisne.
Oh yeah, okay.
Cisne. Okay, so I loved that we figured out where Cisne went because she was so pivotal in Crisis Core, and like everybody was like, "Yo, where the hell did Cisne go?" She didn't want to hunt down Zack. There was a whole thing, right? And she was the star when it comes to Crisis Core. So to find out that there was an ending to where Cisne went was absolutely fantastic in Rebirth. I loved that. And there was answers to some characters that were pivotal in Crisis Core and also Advent Children, which, you know, is a whole another topic of discussion. But I thought for a while, or I had hoped, that Biggs and Zack were actually just inadvertently helping the gang from the afterlife. Like, I thought that they were in the promised land, right? Like that would have been really cool.
That would actually
to
be
like,
a lot better. Yeah, you're totally right.
Oh my gosh. I thought, because like losing the color of the white materia, because the Whispers take something from Aerith every time, and she is very lost. And they really put emphasis on how she is the last ancient and she has absolutely no guidance, none at all. And they take you through that with the Gi, which was also awesome, giving the Gi more substance than just this unknown tribe in Cosmo Canyon and why Red 13's dad, you know, all this stuff, like really going more in depth with that lore. Perfect. I loved that. But I thought for a while, I was like, oh, they brought back Zack and they brought back Biggs to not only give more in-depth lore of the love Zack and Aerith had, because realistically, when you play Crisis Core, you're like, yo, they fell in love after like 3 weeks. Like, make it make sense. That doesn't make any sense. That's really weird, right? But they really started going in depth, and that's what I was hoping for, was that they were going in depth with Zack and really showing their relationship even more than they did in Crisis Core Reunion, and that Zack was in the Promised Land, and like he was inadvertently helping Aerith from the Promised Land, and it would make sense because the Ancients are so connected to the Promised Land, so it's easy for Aerith to really see like Zack in a sense, and like in Advent Children, and this is a spoiler cast, so I hope no one gets upset when I say this, okay?
It's Advent Children. It's been out for 15 years.
They reference Advent Children in Remake.
They do, but there's a scene in Advent Children where Cloud looks at the frame, like he's in the church and he looks towards the outside, and at the doorway is Zack and Aerith. And they and they walk out together. They walk out in the light, right? And so it's like, if they were to try to spin it where Zack was in the Promised Land helping Aerith with this white materia and giving back what the Whispers took from her, amazing. I would have been like, yes, beautiful. Rip out my soul even more than Square Enix already has in the history of Square Enix. Like, yes, take it. It's yours. I will ugly cry in public. It's fine. That's not where they went. That's not where they went at all. And I was like, I was so upset because it's like, dude,
I love it because the fact is that you like, so both you and I didn't think, but you and I both didn't think that it was different dimensions initially, that was the way it was going to go. No, I mean, whatsoever. I had an idea. There was in the back of my mind, I was like, yo, if they, because I said, I don't remember. It was after Remake, but it was when Rebirth was first announced, like that it was a trailer or something. And I was like, ayo, if they don't kill Aerith, I'm never trusting Square Enix again. That's what I said. I was like, I'm never doing it. I'm never, because that's the whole point of, well, in my opinion, that's the whole point of Square Enix. And they're not afraid to kill off a favorite character. Right.
Like for story purposes and for impact. Like they aren't afraid of that at all. And they're very there's some, no one bring up Final Fantasy 14 because we don't need to talk about it. But yes, they are not afraid to kill off characters. And I was like, if you don't kill Aerith, this whole thing is for nothing, because the whole purpose is Cloud, really in the OG fights, not fighting for the planet. Like, he does not care. He doesn't care at all. Yeah, he's like, I'm here to get my money, I'm here to get my bag, and I'm here to get out. Like, but the whole drive at first is Sephiroth and his mind being messed up. Obviously, his memories are altered. He's upset. Sephiroth has the answers. And in that process, Aerith and him become closer. And he starts caring about the planet because Aerith is saying, like, hey, like, I have to do this. I'm the last. This is my responsibility. And then she dies. And Cloud is like, oh, bet. And carries on what Aerith is going to do, or what is she's supposed to do. So, like, that's the whole purpose. That's a whole character arc for
the reason why
Cloud.
She died. Like, the reason that made Cloud a better person, it eventually was because of Aerith's sacrifice.
Correct.
To all of that. Yeah.
Yes. And it brings Tifa and Cloud closer too. And it also, like, everything is pivotal on Aerith's death. Everything rides on Aerith's death. Yeah. And so I was like, if you don't kill Aerith, this entire story is in the garbage. Like, there's no reason not to kill her.
And it was even worse on the fact that what they tried to, like, what's kind of funny? It reminds me of that Family. It's a random reference, but there's a Family Guy reference of, like, when Meg says that they were doing a specific play. And then they said that of, like, it was Death of a Salesman or something. And then they said that, but we can't show death. So instead we had to use flares or something.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
that's exactly what they did in this, in my opinion. And then, like, about the main, because the core story, as far as I'm concerned, besides the side story of Zack, the story that they were telling throughout that one, well, for me, was 175 hours of play, was the story that you were that you were actively working on. And then when what they did with Aerith in that main core line, and then they were doing the bits and pieces of, there's different universes where Aerith did die, like the OG version, and then the other version of, like, she's with Zack and stuff. But the one that you were on specifically was, we're going to make a plane, like, like a plane of flowers and fields and stuff, and just say that because she has to be there, but we have to leave her there and go, and we have to do our thing, was one of the biggest cop-outs in my mind. But to be like, wow, so out of all the stuff that you worked on to this point, what the hell was it? What the hell was it all for?
To be fair,
can I say my interpretation of that scene though?
Yes.
I didn't think of it, at least, like, at the very end where, they take off and leave her behind. I took that more as Cloud
is really messed up. Yeah.
So and so, like, when I initially finished this, I had a complaint that we didn't get the funeral scene.
We didn't.
But then, like, when I
didn't get the iconic floating to the water,
sinking.
But then when I rewatched it,
sinking.
It's edited in a way that I think they did do it, but because we're playing this because it's Cloud's perspective at this point.
Yeah.
So we're seeing it from how he's seeing it. He's not accepting it. I'm pretty sure it happened, and we'll see these scenes in
part three. Yes, I do agree with that. I think we will, because he blacks out,
looking at Cloud like he's lost his goddamn mind.
Yeah, and he slowly is losing his mind throughout that whole process. Yes.
Well, the scene, I know what you're referencing too, because the scene where everybody's like, well, getting onto the plane, right? And they're like, he was like, don't look up in the sky because it's alarming, and everybody was like, like, are you what? Like, it's a really nice day outside. What do you mean? Like, yes, yeah, like, there's no wind. This is a perfect flying weather. What are you talking about, right? Like, absolutely. I do think that they did they really emphasize, because I mean, realistically, like it came out in 97. The graphics aren't great. You really had to emphasize in dialogue that Cloud was losing it, right?
Off. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So I agree that I do feel like we get the iconic moment of like Aerith sinking into the water in part 3. I do feel like that is accurate.
But to say that would you trust the person that you know that is running this story? Would you trust them to do something like that? That's the one I think, and I don't think, and that's the problem. And that's the problem I'm coming across. Yes,
I know.
Like we are we're putting, because we have full assumption of like we're old enough to have played the original, and now we're playing the current one and stuff like that. So we have a source to kind of reference ourselves to this. So we can kind of give them an out a little bit to it. But the people that are like, like that is new, 20 something, or even teens and up playing this game, they're going to go by whatever they're currently seeing, and that's where I'm kind of going by, because like if they're going to show this kind of representation of how Aerith is going to just disappear, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I pray to God that they do what you're saying that they're going to do, but I don't know if I trust them. Yeah, I don't know if I can trust them to do it. Is my biggest issue. Is like, who knows like what they're planning on towards this.
I agree with you that we will get that in part 3. I do agree with that. And I do agree that it really puts emphasis on how Cloud is absolutely losing it. Like, genuinely, it is very clear as day that Cloud is not okay in more ways than one. And especially, like, it really touches on, obviously, dealing with grief as well. Like, you're giving so much more emphasis on a lot of things. And I could absolutely look past that. I can. Just for the simple fact of that. But there's
all the added shit.
There's the Temple of the Ancients. What was that? Why isn't it a different location than what it's supposed to be at? Right? That's like a small thing. Where was Rocket Town? Why was Cid introduced so early? Why is Sephiroth constantly like everywhere all the time? Like, I understand Cloud is losing it.
They the earliest point is like the snake fight, which was an optional fight originally in the OG version. But like, remember, like, but it was a key fight of showing that Cloud is slipping into, that insanity, because like, you remember the beginning of this one. So I totally understand.
And like, where was, like, I understand that we got the summons of Alexander, which was great. But if anyone remembers how to get Alexander in the OG, which is an absolute pain.
It was.
And I wanted to slam my face. Yeah, like I just wanted to slam my face through a brick wall because I would get easily lost in the mountains. But like there's plot holes. I feel like there's new plot holes that have been created due to the direction or how they wrote Rebirth. And I can understand why they're doing it. But on the other hand, like, why in God's name was the fight 9 phases? Under no circumstances was that necessary. There was no reason for that Sephiroth fight at the end to be 9 phases.
Because it was Kingdom Hearts, remember? Because you remember the Coliseum in Kingdom Hearts, you had to fight Sephiroth in 10 different phases.
Yes, and it's like, there's an announcement of Kingdom Hearts 4. Keep Kingdom Hearts with Kingdom Hearts. Like, this doesn't need to be a $1 billion project of advertisement for Kingdom Hearts. This is Final Fantasy VII. Like, and it's never going to be the OG.
Yeah.
It's just like the same thing with book adaptations to movies. Nothing is ever perfect, and I completely understand that. But you have generations of material to use when it comes to any Final Fantasy game, from 1 all the way up to now 16. Like, if you really wanted to remake, 8, 9, and 10, you have a plethora of content and story that doesn't necessarily have to be altered, but you can add to it. And I think they gave a really good example of that with Rebirth. I think they've done a phenomenal job, but to absolutely screw the pooch when it comes to the end was wild to me. And like, I don't feel like they need to pander to the new generation, because Square Enix has lived this long for a reason. It has not gone under for a reason. And their writers and directors are phenomenal. And I just don't feel like that they didn't have to do this extra shit. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
They didn't.
Like, good.
I'm sorry, but they didn't have to do this. They didn't have to. And like the Zach and like the multitude, like leave Zach dead. Please leave him dead, because that's another pivotal moment for Aerith. She wants to know what happened to her boyfriend. She loved him. She is the ancient. I'm upset about it.
They did do a lot of stuff that kind of changed character development in a weird sense of a way, I will say.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I think that's the biggest upsetting thing about it, was that the way that the execution fell flat to me. Overall, I think it's safe to say the execution of Rebirth fell flat comparatively to what you were expecting the second one. Now, to say it's a bad game, no, it's not a bad game. It's still a good game.
No, it's so great.
It's just that the storytelling kind of took a hit comparatively to the first one, and it's going to show. And now it's begging. Now the third one, we're probably not going to see the third one in about 3 years or so, give or take.
Or 4, give or take.
Yeah, and now it's begging a lot of questions, even more questions of how they're going to close this off, and then also God, I don't even know what to expect at this point.
Well, where's Wu Tai? Where's Rocket Town? Where all these things that were in Disc 2 that are no longer in Rebirth, and how are you gonna incorporate Vincent Valentine's backstory and Dirge's Serbius? Are you listen,
that's what they're trying to. It seems like that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to wrap everything in the 7 universe within this game. So who knows?
Which I think is a great idea. I think that's a great idea, because I don't know if anyone remembers back in the day, and I was young. I was born in 91, so it's not that I know everything, but I do remember when I got older and I replayed 7 again. A lot of people thought that they milked the hell out of 7 in that time. Because you had Crisis Core, Dirge, you had First Soldier, you had there was complaints that there was no need to have that much.
They started doing the 7 expansion stuff in the 2000s, right?
Essentially, because
essentially, other Final Fantasy games doing at that time financially. I'm assuming it's because
Squaresoft was not great in that.
The reason why Squaresoft was not great was because of Final Fantasy the movie. When it came out, they lost a lot of money from that.
7 brought in my opinion, 7 was a huge hit for multiple reasons. Yeah,
was their number 1 selling game till 15.
Yeah, that was their up and up. So they decided to emphasize more on 7 by branching out and doing all of these weird sequels and stuff, and which is totally fine. Square Enix does do that. They do that all the time anyways. But
Square as a company, because Square when they were known as Squaresoft, they couldn't do no wrong, because I mean technically 9 was the worst selling game between the three when it first came up. No, 8 was a good seller because it was going by the sales of 7, the representation of 7.
You're right. Okay, yeah.
When 9 came back, and then 9's graphics was dumbed down relatively to how 8 and 7's life look was, even though I think it was a cleaner game in my opinion. The look of it was
graphically.
But the kind of characters, they were chibi and stuff like that. The style was a lot different.
I think a lot of people
didn't
like that at the time.
Yeah, it didn't like it. And mind you, 7 was the introductory of people who never played an RPG before in their lives. And then that was the game it was let me go, look how these people looked at the time. These people looked I guess in 97, they looked more like you and me, kind of in the video modes and stuff. So 7 did. I mean, 7 Square was doing really, really good, but then they hedged their bets on Final Fantasy the movie. And keep in mind, at the time when Final Fantasy the movie came out, CG animation was really, really expensive. and then they decided to make it, and then they put in almost $100 million on it. Then they only got $20 million back, which forced them to merge with Enix. With Enix at the time, so that's the story of Square Enix. But still,
so that's probably why they milked 7. They were like,
it was definitely
they're bringing it back. Yeah, clear.
I don't feel like it was clear, and I don't think it was a bad idea in any sense. You know, there was a lot of things, but like I do hope that they are wrapping everything into one and leaving Advent Children as it is, because I get if you're trying to bring in Advent Children into the same universe and really making it one streamlined, like, yeah, absolutely. I would highly encourage that, because it's kind of the same thing with Kingdom Hearts. Like, there's a lot of people that missed out on the story of Kingdom Hearts because it was spread out through so many different consoles that not everyone had. So to streamline this into one and really be able to tell the story of all the characters in 7, and even if we have to really just swoop in Advent Children into that bundle, great. But I do hope that they're combining all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, you've already taken it pretty far. You might as well just, shoot for the stars at that point.
Is it really going to be that much of a stretch to add Advent Children in the world of Final Fantasy anyway? In Seven's world anyway, since Advent Children takes place post the story of Final Fantasy, it just depends on how they're going to.
It's years after kind of thing. Yeah, so I feel like.
I mean, they can still do it. It's not like it's a far-fetched stretch for them to make it merge, to make it all canon into it. I don't think the problem is going to be getting Advent Children to make sense to the story of 7, because of it was the post factor, and they could tie certain things. They've already have been going through the process of tying certain things in Advent Children in Rebirth. So I mean, for them to kind of go into it, doesn't seem like it's going to be a hard task for them to say, oh, this did happen, or this.
Well, I think they could also just lead up. Yeah, they could just lead up to Advent Children and leave Advent where it is.
Oh, definitely.
You know,
because I mean, they did a theatrical re-release this year.
They did, and it did really well.
Yeah,
putting the resources to put that in the game. That being said, if they do bring anything from Advent Children into the game, just give me that 6-piece sword thing that Cloud has.
Oh yes, that's all I want.
Final weapon that I can then take up against like Jenova and Sephiroth. At
the Transformer sword. Yeah, you should definitely do that.
Dude. I would love that shit.
The way they did the black materia, how he just casually just throws it into his sword. I'm like, oh, oh wait, I have never. I got chills. I was like, oh, like that is the coolest thing.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that, and that was awesome. He was just like, bloop, like it was no big deal. And it made me question.
That would be even better if they actually add that sword in the last part of Final Fantasy. Fantasy third part, 7. That would be really great.
I mean, you have all the other weapons too. Ruby, Emerald, Sapphire. Like, you have all of the weapons that you have to do, because that was also optional, except for Diamond. Diamond was a forced interaction in OG. Yeah, but all the other weapons, I mean, they have that in Final Fantasy 14. Like, you can get... Like, they have the Ruby, Sapphire, Diamond weapons in 14. Like, they have to do that. Wu Tai. I mean, are they going to do Rocket Town in part 3? Like, there's so many questions.
They said their plans for part 3 with the High Wind is they wanted to make everything from Rebirth and Remake and beyond into one cohesive thing. I could have sworn I did hear something about that.
That could be possible, and I can definitely understand that. And like,
see, but here's the problem, though. The problem is that with certain things, like for instance, Rocket Town and stuff, like the emphasis of that could be easily overshadowed by Chadley, because like they could have just say Bahamut Zero,
unless he goes missing.
I know, right? Chadley.
Well, because that's where they meet. That's oh shit. Oh god. Well, that's. I mean, that's where they meet Sid. That's how they get the tiny Bronco. So how are they gonna fill Rocket Town now? Because
didn't they get the tiny Bronco? Didn't they get the tiny Bronco already? Like the red. That's the red ship that you use to surf on the ocean in Rebirth, right? So
yeah.
So like, because the way that they placed everything right now on this is that it is quite possible that that certain things may not even will exist on that. Like for instance,
they have to do Rocket Town because that's where they go into space.
Yeah, but the reason why we were going into space, but the reason why they were going into space was because of what's it called? No, it wasn't because of Bahamut Zero, but they were trying to, was it counteract the giant gun they put in Midgar City? Like, or I forgot what it was. Like, what was the reason why they went into space? Yeah, so that's the question. Long. Yeah, no, exactly. 20 plus years for me.
Meteor.
Was it maybe? Well, I don't know. We can look it up, I guess. But the biggest thing is
I feel like they'll do some form of everything.
If there's a reason why they're going to do it, that like they could easily skim over it, just kind of like how they did the small stuff that they did with they made Calm its own certain small thing, because it was a major part of the story and stuff. But like Rocket Town, They may just skim it, say, hey, yeah, it exists. This is what it is. This is what we're going to do. Although Sid's story is that he wanted to go. He was a big fan of wanting to go to space, but
and that's the reason he joins the party is because he has been deceived by Shinra.
But like how they introduced him in Rebirth makes it kind of.
He touches on it. But he did help Aerith's mom. He knows Aerith's mom, and that's why Sid joins, which is another thing. But they go into space because of the huge materia, and Sephiroth summons Meteor. So they kind of already did that in the end of Rebirth because everything is like kind of foreshadowed, and everything's like he's already, he's still wanting the black materia at the end of Rebirth. So now I can kind of see it clicks that we could probably see instead of Sid being introduced in Rocket Town, Sid goes back to Rocket Town, and then they don't realize that Sid has joined the party, and so Shinra comes to visit still, and Chadley is a part of that, obviously, and helps Sid get into space. I could see that. I hope so, because again, Sid going into space is a monumental moment for his character growth.
Yeah, I don't think that the way that we're going to remember how we remember Rocket Town, which was terrible since it's been 30 years, that it's going to be the same way that what we're going to experience when the third part of the remake comes out. So, but I mean, I'm not wishing that, but I just think that something's going to change in that. That's why I think because how we get the summons in this, which it kind of sucks. I'm not a big fan of how that maybe that's also why I wasn't a big fan of Chadley either, but because like how you're getting summons. I didn't like that
they're all through Chadley. I'd be fine with
they're all through Chadley. Yeah, all of them? Yeah, pretty much. I wasn't a big fan of that, but like
I can understand that, and I think that I can understand where you both are coming from with that too, because it kind of makes the adventure around the world in the game kind of redundant, because that's what we used to do, is that we used to like the sleeping man in the cave, and he gave you a certain materia if you hit so many enemies, or like in the mountains, and you talk to that lady that's in the snowy mountains, and she gives you Alexander. Like there's so many reasons to explore every corner of the map itself when it comes to Final Fantasy VII. But I think that's why I feel like Chadley has more of a purpose, and they're just trying to emphasize on that. But I think because they streamlined it with Crisis Core too. I don't know if anyone hated how Crisis. Well, CF.
The slot system. I know what you're talking about. The slot system.
No. The Crisis Core Reunion. A lot of what?
I haven't played Reunion yet.
Oh my. Okay.
Wait.
So,
before you do this,
PSP emulation. That's all.
Yeah, but before we do this, but can you imagine? Because this is a possibility, a good possibility. Like we're going to see fighting like the Ruby, the Emerald weapons. Because remember the way you had to get the Emerald was you had to go underwater into the submarine to get access to it. That could be totally scratched by saying, "Hey, we got to unlock, especially unlocked through Chadley's virtual missions that you fight this special monster Emerald." It's a possibility. It's a possibility that they could do with it. It's what I'm saying.
Hojo.
I'm not sure that they would take that away because a lot of the weapons, you get extra dialogue and story context through interacting with the weapons how you do in the OG that I have hope. I really hope that they don't do that because...
But didn't you have to fight those monsters for you to be able to get Knights of the Round?
Yes.
Okay. Like,
you have to complete all the weapons to get Knights of the Round?
Yeah, because that was
one of the
saying? Yeah, that was one of the stipulations. And the way how Final Fantasy, how this remake version, how this setup was, is that the way to get summons is through Chadley. And I think that unless it's like what's it called? You know, the battle situations that Chadley put throughout the maps and stuff, unless they do something like that. That's why I feel like they would go that direction to make it easier for you to gain access to fight these to fight some of these bosses. So
the reason I hope that they don't is because when Tifa interacts with one of the weapons in Rebirth, Chadley's nowhere to be found. Chadley doesn't chime in. Chadley doesn't appear out of nowhere. There is absolutely zero, like Chadley doesn't appear at all or have any dialogue regarding the weapons. Cosmo Canyon, when you talk to Bugenhagen and everything else, when it comes to that storyline of the weapons, I have hope just because Chadley chimes in on everything. That's half the reason we're all annoyed with him is that he talks about everything and it drives us up the wall. But for some reason in Rebirth, Chadley doesn't talk about the weapons at all.
Okay, that's
not
fair.
at all.
Okay.
It's almost like he doesn't acknowledge, like he's not cued into that conversation. So that's why I have hope, but I don't know. I mean, we're not going to know until part 3.
I'll just steal some of your optimism, Asha. That's probably the best way.
Listen, the fact that I even have any type of optimism after how disappointed I was about the story in general, I'm shocked that I still have that. I don't know how I do, honestly.
You want to complete. Now you're at the point where it's like you're invested in. You need to complete it. That's why,
dude.
That's why. I mean, that's why. It's simple. Long story short of it, it's like, yeah, like you were a fan of the original OG. Now you're at the halfway point of the current remake of the original, and then you're already seeing some of the things that are kind of be like, really. Now you got to see where it's going to lead. I mean,
I'm invested, but if I really want to have that hit nostalgia again, I'll just go play the original.
You should play the original on PC. The new mods that they added to it. Ooh,
I'm not a mod person. I've never been. Yeah, like as much as I love.
I think you would love this mods. The way I urge you. Like I will send you some of the videos of
just to see, but I've never been the one to play. I just like playing the game as is, and if there's mods to spruce it up, sure, great. I appreciate the people that put the work in to really revitalize an old game or a current game.
That's what
I don't want to
is.
disregard or. Well, yeah, but I don't want to dismiss the people that do work on those mods because I think they're fantastic. I don't know, man. I have the original on. I mean, I still have my copy of the original.
Yeah,
from back in '97, but I have it on my PlayStation 5 too that I can just boot it up and play it. But
right.
Yes, I'm invested, but I am more invested in Final Fantasy 14 than I am in this remake of 7, which is hard for me to admit because 7 really holds a special place in my heart. 6 through 10, I hold a very special place in my heart and in my life. But
it's not really that hard to believe because I think Final Fantasy overall throughout the years, it just seems like, well, for me, because I've played, besides 15, I haven't finished 15 yet. But I played every one, and I think when 10, when Hironobu Sakaguchi left after 10, it just didn't seem the same anymore. And yes and no. Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. Like Final Fantasy 12 was the guy who did Vagrant's story. 13, we don't talk about 13.
12. 13 doesn't exist for me.
Yeah. 12.
I'm not a 13 fan.
Yeah, exactly. 15 was essentially was through 13 storyline, so it was made by the same business.
I like 15.
I
liked it. I really did.
I don't have a problem with 15, but for some reason, just I just can't I just am not invested with any of the characters. That's like, it just makes me.
That's how I feel about 16
a little bit. Yeah,
I was invested in 15, but 16, phenomenal graphics.
16's graphics are incredible. 16's story is, I think 16 has one of the best solid stories in a long time that the Final Fantasy has had. I don't like the execution, because like the problem I have was like they made it way too easy. They made it way too easy on like for instance, they got rid of status effects in this game, and you're fighting Marlboros, for crying out loud, and you still don't have and stuff like things like that really kind of got to me. And I know what you're gonna say, Asha, because I know
we've talked about this,
I'm
and
just saying,
Magic in 16 doesn't work properly like it does in other Final Fantasies, so that's why there's no status effects. But like, I get what you're saying, and like I feel like 16 is different.
The fight, like, I mean, 16 doesn't really play like a traditional RPG, let alone action RPG and stuff like that, which is fine, which is completely fine. But like, I just think that the games, like the execution to because like, I mean, I'm in love with the story. I think the story is a great story itself, and the side missions and stuff like that was fun. But however, I don't know. We digress. This is not what we're talking about.
I mean, but like the evolution of Square Enix in its whole, like, yes, I understand where you're coming from with the evolution of how the stories go. So
turn-based wise, like for me personally, my favorite RPG, my favorite Final Fantasy on the PlayStation 1 was Final Fantasy 9. Loved 9. Can't get enough of that
Agreed.
one. I played it last year again because of how much I loved it. But overall 7 let's get back on topic. 7 Rebirth is I would say is a great game. It's a very good, a very solid game to play. I mean, it does have its weird whimsical stuff. I enjoyed, the thing I really enjoyed about it itself was the battle systems. I mean, like, the material system is still just as broken as ever, in my opinion. But because you can do so much crazy stuff in it, and I just love doing that. It's just like, and to just be able to come in and just say, okay, well, we're going to be fighting this thing, and then I'm literally absorbing virtually everything, getting help back and stuff like that. It's just crazy. And
Side comment, because we haven't talked about it, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way. The item transmutation was cool.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Was really useful.
Oh, it was, because you're just picking up a bunch of stuff, and you're like, what do I do with this? And it's like, upgrade your stuff, upgrade your armor. Like, beautiful. I loved it too. And beautiful execution on that.
Then if you if you were short, or you just didn't want to go to an item shop, you can make it yourself if you have enough of the items itself.
Absolutely, very, very absolutely fantastic. And I think that I know that Final Fantasy isn't known to do like heavily on item customization and stuff. At least they touch on it, but this really opens the door for any future Final Fantasies. Like, I feel like there's still a purpose for the item shop and the materia shop and the weapon shop, but also you're picking up things and it's giving you a reason to explore the world. And I think I loved that. I loved that.
Yeah, I definitely loved it too. I mean, I just loved like the presentation of this game is great. There's no debating on that. Just loved it. There's just the concern. I guess the biggest concern for me is just how the story is going to take us, and how they're going to close us off on it. But let's start closing it off. But like, so overall, what about you? What was your overall opinion of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Zuzu?
Still my game of the year. Like I said, I loved it. I don't love the timey-wimey bullcrap, but I'm reserving judgment on that specifically to see how it ends. I think everything else, even with all the changes, will line up with the proper ending of 7 and will lead into Advent Children and whatnot. And if they don't, then what the hell?
What was it all for?
Right now, I'm happy.
Yeah. So I mean, that's fair. I mean, you're going to have to keep an open mind on seeing where it's going to go, since we don't have the complete story of it. But yeah, but so far you're clearly satisfied of it, so that's great. What about you,
Needs
Asha?
more Andrea Rodeo though.
Facts.
Yes.
Facts.
Not enough Andrea.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
They were glorious.
Absolutely beautiful. The
Totally
character
agree.
design. Yes.
Definitely was incredible. It was very good. But what about you, Asha? What do you think?
Overall, I like it. It is a contender for Game of the Year for me. However, I will not deny that Dawn Trail does drop in 2 months, and I don't know what that has in store for Final Fantasy 14. So Final Fantasy as a whole, though, still my favorite category of all time. Game is great. Story is, I have optimism. I do. And I really hope I'm not let down by it. But again, anybody who is not familiar with Final Fantasy, I think that's the most important part, is that you enjoy the game and hopefully the story, and it broadens your horizon with other Final Fantasy games or other RPGs in general. I think that's the most important part, is that you're seeing a generation's favorite pivotal game come back to life and to experience that for yourself. And I think that's the most important, honestly. And that, discussions like this are important to really see how it affects or impacts our generation compared to others. But I solid game overall. And please, Square Enix, please don't mess up this story. Please. That's all I'm asking. There's so many things that you could do. There's so much material. And and I do feel like with Cisne and like all of these other things that are coming back and really getting explained, I know Square Enix listens to the community. I know they do, and it's very evident in multiple games. And I know you guys are listening to the feedback, and I know that you really are catering to your fan base, and new and old. Please don't mess up this story, please. That's all I'm asking, please. Okay. That's all I want.
She's begging.
I am begging. I am. Up. And like, there's not a lot of Final Fantasy games that I despise other than 13. So we don't even talk about it. But
Mr. Quest.
But I am begging that this game, I would love to see other generations really experience what we experienced as kids, and as heartbreaking as it is, and don't ever stop ripping our souls out and putting them in shreds and trying to put it back.
Make me feel my feelings.
Yeah, I want to feel my I want to ugly cry on stream, because I'll do that every Final Fantasy. I'm looking at you, 15.
Oh God, yeah.
Wait, did you? Wait. You ugly cried on 15?
Oh my God. Absolutely, I did.
I'm trying to remember
when those credits closed, that credit scene, I was just...
Okay.
And then Florence of the Machines with the Stand By Me,
I need to play 15. I need to finish 15 then, because like I'm only on chapter 8, I believe, on 15. So
bless.
Yeah. So I need to hurry up.
I'm not gonna say what it is, because you said that you weren't emotionally attached to the characters.
Yeah.
I think that you should maybe do you have Crunchyroll?
I do.
I know this is off subject, but
the King's Club?
or like Amazon has it. There are episodes to each character. I would encourage you to watch those.
Okay.
And then really, because trust me,
I didn't. You ever like Prompto? Because I just can't do it.
Yes.
I can't do it with Prompto.
Yes.
Really.
If you watch the episodes, you do feel for Prompto. Yeah, I do. Does he die all the time anyways? Yes. Does it irritate me? Yes. Do I think the magic is awful and that you can kill your entire party by using thunder?
Incredibly, yes.
But
terrible.
Yes, I got invested with 15. I didn't get invested with 16, but I did cry in some, just because
you had to. Did you cry at 16's ending?
I like 15 actually.
What?
I did, but what?
I did not want to like 15. I went into 15.
Yeah, I didn't want to like 15 either.
13 bull crap, and then
I was burned. I was burned by 13 as well. Yeah,
okay,
I was not, but 15 I didn't want to like it either, and I loved it. And I think to be fair though, for anyone that is listening to this podcast, like I cry more easily now because I lost my mom, so death hits me differently now. So the ending of 16 was very, very difficult for me and in multiple reasons because of that. But also my mom loved 15, or my mom loved Final Fantasy as a whole. Like any new Final Fantasy that dropped, she would be in my room and I would be playing through it. And she would watch the stories with me. Like she loved the stories of Final Fantasy, which is why I play 14. Because she told me, because she was in my streams all the time, was like, that's the one Final Fantasy other than 11 that we haven't played like together. Yeah. So that's why I'm into 14 is because of my mother. And so 16 hit me differently because my mom's not here to watch the story. And like we would both be ugly crying together. I mean, 15 I played after my brain surgery as well. And both of us are in my bed and I'm just like, like just uncontrollably sobbing with my head wrapped in bandages because of my brain surgery. Like it's different for me, but Final Fantasy as a whole, it hits me in ways that I hope continues to do so through this generation, like through countless generations. Wow, I want other people to experience that. I want people to know that people are not afraid to kill off a favorite character. Like
I totally agree. But so I guess unanimously we would recommend anyone to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If you're an RPG fan, you definitely got to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to do it. So what do y'all think about what our thoughts were about this game? I would love to know. So definitely chime in inside the comments below on our YouTube, on the YouTube page on the CFG. And if you liked this spoiler cast, hopefully we'll see many other ones in the near future. Once again, Zuzu, Asha, thank you so much for stopping by. It was really cool, cool breaking it down. It was a fun conversation. I'm actually surprised. I said in an hour and we're well over it, which is great.
Well over an hour, absolutely.
Over an hour. I was expecting so much.
And I could keep going with Rebirth.
I could too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I could absolutely keep talking about it.
We're just at the tip of the iceberg here, man.
We're at the tip of the iceberg for the most part, but hey, we got the gist of it. We got the good parts, the bad parts, and then and then everything else is 100% is subjective, mind you, though too. So I mean, it's not like the end all be all. So there you go. But guys, thank you so much for stopping by, checking us out on the Whaddya Think spoiler cast. We'll definitely check out in the near future to see what the next ones will be. But if you definitely have any ideas. This is a brand new setup, so we're still kind of testing the water to see how it's going to go and how things are going to mix. So if you have any ideas of what we should also do in the near future, by all means, also type it inside the comments below. I would love to know. So once again, this is Davis signing out. Y'all take it easy.